Notice how vegetarianism and animal welfare is now such a go-to virtue for atheists and some ex-Muslims. It's actually quite funny, but not because it's about animals, but because it's so transparently hypocritical. They say animals have feelings. Our fellow atheists are nowadays just so in touch with their inner goddess, and their third eye has literally opened.
My argument is not so much against animal death as it is against animal suffering.
They can't help but be so open-minded.
Here we are in 2019, killing animals and watching them lose their lifeblood and waste away because Allah wants it.
They cannot help but be so tolerant.
Someday, I promise you, I'm gonna be as vegetarian as I can be.
And they can't help but be so empathetic to their fellow sentient creatures, so they cannot, definitely not, stomach the idea, oh no, of eating and causing unnecessary suffering to poor animals. No, that's just something they cannot live with. Oh no, never. Yet, when it comes to the feelings of 1.7 billion sentient humanoids, Muslims, these virtue-signalling, fake, sensitive, self-appointed cyber saints don't have a problem at all riding roughshod through it. When you become an atheist, a latent guilt persists, apparently. I'm not moral enough, I'm not moral enough, I'm not moral enough, I'm not moral enough. To compensate for this morality deficit, some will overcompensate with false virtue. How do I get one up on theists? I know, I'll say that our shoes are sacred. No, that's just silly. I know, I'll go with cats and dogs are sacred. Yep, that ought to do it. Well, Muslims can defend themselves. Animals need humans to stand up for them. And for society to progress, free speech and inquiry are necessary. Hence, criticism of Muslims is for a good cause. Wasn't this exactly the very argument of the 19th century European slave masters and the gallivanting colonialists? I swear it was. White Christian people would sail out on their high horse, so to speak, enslave natives, arguing this very thing. It is for their own good we bring civilization to them. And when it is said to them, do not cause corruption on the earth, they say, we are but reformers. Al-Quran. In return, sir, you will get Jesus Christ, the Saviour. Exceptional British values, like Yorkshire pudding on Sundays. I said, sir, we will teach you the English alphabet. A decent standard of living will follow. You'll get a free cat and a smelly mask to go with it. Smelly mask And lo and behold, look now. After all these years, it's as if nothing's changed. For again, the same evil forces are picking on us inferior Muslims. Again, they're saying it's for our own good. Again, they're telling us it's for a good cause. Unquestionably, it is they who are the corruptors, but they perceive it not. Al-Quran. But something's different now. The threat is insidious. It's cultural imperialism. Instead of just colonizing earth and water, they're now busy colonizing our minds. They desire to put out the light of Allah with their mouths, but Allah will perfect His light, though the unbelievers may be averse. Al-Quran. Their agents are hell-bent on secularizing every one of us Muslim folk. Surely those who disbelieve spend their wealth to hinder people from the way of Allah, so they shall spend it. Then it shall be to them an intense regret. Al-Quran. So is this what you super-sensitive paragons of saintly virtue took from 200 years of global imperial history of slavery and genocide? Number 1. Love cats and dogs, because they're sentient creatures. Number 2, hate on Muslims because they're sentient creatures. Oh, you fools! Did you sleep through history class or what? Didn't you see what the 19th century Western supremacist ideas did to this globe? Virtuous animal lovers? Poof! You're no defenders of the feelings of the weak. If you were, you wouldn't add fuel to the fire that is hundreds of thousands of sentient people not being selected for jobs just because they're called Muhammad or because they wear a headscarf. You're no defenders of the weak. If you were, you wouldn't add fuel to the fire that is thousands of sentient people discriminated in the housing market just because they're Muslims. You're no defenders of the weak. If you were, you wouldn't add fuel to the fire that is thousands of sentient people being overlooked for job promotion even when they're more qualified just because they're Muslim. And loving oink oink doesn't begin to cover it. You think that if you just pet a furry cat, profess the most limp-wristed wish to someday embrace a vegan diet, you're somehow entitled, justified, to spew your dangerous and hypocritical nonsense? We saw what happened to sentient Muslim people in Myanmar. We're seeing what's happening to sentient Muslim people in France. We're seeing what's happening to sentient Muslim people in China and sentient Muslim people in Kashmir. And for your info, Genocide Watch is already sounding alarm bells in India over its discrimination against its own sentient Muslim people, saying the groundwork for a genocide against its own sentient Muslim people is well underway. Be honest, are we blind or are you blind to the sentient feelings of our fellow creatures? You atheists are right about one thing though, I'll give you that. There is a sentient empathy game in town, but you guys are not even on the field. With one hand, you pull the leash of your dog. With the other, you pull the noose around the necks of your fellow sentient human beings. Just because they're Muslim, and you have the nerve to lecture us? Caring for animals' feelings only works if you also care for the feelings of people, you masakin. The common denominator? Feelings. I repeat, feelings. That's the test. Not because it's a cute little catty or a cute little doggy, or because it makes you look good or it gets you super chats. You have to be for feelings wherever it arises. In cats, dogs, sheep, sure, but you don't ignore the feelings of people along the way. It doesn't work like that. Then again, hypocrisy is the least of your worries when you have no objective moral code. You're like a dog chasing your own tail. Those are they whose works shall become null in this world, as well as the hereafter, and they shall have no helpers. Al-Quran.